Hi, I'm Dolly Rabbit, and in the video you're about to see, I have art that is very old that I allowed Zamen to use. That is not indicative of my current quality. If you wish to see my new art and everything I'm working on in terms of projects, please head to my Twitter at @TheDollyRabbit. Thank you for your time, and please enjoy the Persona Recap series.
Hiya, I'm a Zamen, and we've done this before. TTRPGs are cool, and I ran a Persona. Last time I kicked a bad egg, lost some peeps, gained some peeps, and broke my spine, while the players accepted a deal with a genie man jester where on his orders they killed their school's principal who had become a demon, all without answering a single question. Following that, they all decided they wanted to be streamers, so allow me to introduce you all to the Phase 5! Leonidas, Stallion, Lucia, Aki, and Felicia. And yes, the party was called the Phase 5 for a bit. For a bit, okay? Like after November, the name is just never used again. That's our heroes. However, before we go on, let us take a moment to thank two wonderful people, the amazing On51, who is the wonderful artist behind Sky's design, and my good friend Dolly Rabbit, who is responsible for the art of our protagonists. Without further ado, check them out on Twitter. And now let me tell you the tale of Persona Storm of Chords, the October arc, Loser of Nothingness. Presently, it is October 5th, the day of the party's deadline as imposed by the enigmatic jester. And something else I should point out is the storms. Whenever a deadline nears, the town of Downpour, our setting, begins to experience a heavy rainfall. In fact, a single week before the original party arrived in Downpour, a tropical storm had swept through the entire town, harming the coastline quite badly. And now, on October 5th, a heavy rainstorm has begun to rage, leaving most people locked inside for the night. On this night, Jester arrives, materializing within the bathroom to the waiting party. Oh, and Sky, the other person who lives in this dormitory, she isn't present. The party has no idea where she went, but it's probably fine.
It's true, we don't know where Sky is at any given moment.
Exactly, yeah.
we never kept track of Sky, not once.
I just realized I could just...
Hi, it's me, Dolly Rabbit, from 10 feet away.
His voice is too powerful. Anyway, the jester arrives and he's all like, "Sick, you killed the demon, now do it again." And the party's all like, "What? Why? Where even?" Jester explains that every month, when the storm washes over Downpour, it destroys the dungeon world, and in turn creates another, but with a different person at its helm. The powers that be simply choose a person with a desire for a different kind of world. The principal, for instance, wanted a world filled with nothing but sadness, since to him, the entire world deserved it after the death of his daughter last August. With that, he also tells him to be on the lookout for any insects in the other world, calling them dangerous. He tells the party that he'll be back on November 2nd, and leaves. Bam, there's a deadline. Left to grapple with this new mission, Felicia tries to call her parents. They do not pick up. The following day, the party actually takes a forward-thinking step towards learning more about Jester and the other world, heading to the Velvet Station to get answers out of Igor. They pile into the station, and either Felicia or Aki greet Igor with the so eloquent phrase, "Yo, no stick Igor!" beginning a beautiful relationship of tolerance. That was you? Christ. After that, Leo naturally stepped up and began to speak with Igor, saying, "Please, pardon my entourage, they are but mere children. We have come here to ask for insight into the nature of these dungeons. Where can we find its source? Where has it been created?" "Ah yes, much like my beloved guest, you seek the newly born domain. The one you seek has been crafted by a solitary figure who longs for more. The where, I unfortunately cannot tell you. It is not my place. But I am certain you will encounter them soon in your day-to-day life." Now, Zamen here, that line of dialogue by Igor there, that really annoyed my players, because it's just blatant withholding of information that could be easily acquired. So cue about 10 minutes of the players trying really roundabout questions to get what they wanted. And I, despite the lack of a backbone, did manage to not give away the identity of whoever made the next dungeon, so go me, character development. The party then learned that if they pull the dungeon's creator out of the body of the demon before they kill it, they can save that person and get even more answers. Wow! So with 1/16 of their questions answered, the party continued their way to school, where on the steps outside they encountered their dorm mate Sky, who had been absent during the whole violent storm last night. As they're walking, the party asks her where she was, since they were kinda, sorta worried, not really. They were just saying hi, really. Naturally, Sky explains, "Oh, you know, I was at my friend Kopadon's place. I thought it'd be fun to watch the latest episode of Featherman Omega over there. Like right now the main cast is chasing after their leader, Red Epsilon, who's gone off on their own. It's so hype." Like in the last episode, the group thought they managed to take down this big monster by working together, but it secretly lived. So in the latest episode, Red Epsilon has to play cleanup and 1v1 the monster. And before Sky could continue spouting more Featherman, a boy walked up, asking what was going on. This is our next social link character, Copadon, the Hierophant Arcana. He's the soft shy boy who surprised many characters by being a guy. And that was unintentional. I wasn't particularly great at roleplaying yet, first time GM, so some information was omitted in my descriptions, and Copadon's original art I snagged off the interwebs was quite a bit feminine. Look, okay, it was really hard to find male anime students that looked different, and I was lazy. Moving on, Copadon introduces himself and offers the party an invitation to join the student council, since they are low on members since interest is particularly low. Everyone except Leo and Lucia decide to participate. Felicia worms her way into the role of vice president, Stallion becomes the chairperson, basically the real leader, and Aki becomes the treasurer. Leo doesn't join, but he might as well be a member. Everyone is inducted into the council after school, where they meet the remaining members of the council. Leah, the group's reporter, we've met her. Sky, the secretary, also met her. But apparently there's one more member of the student council. However, no one can find him, so the party splits up and searches the school. Aki and Felicia decide to look at the library's supply closet, where upon opening it up, a shaggy-looking boy with a big cap fumbles out. The guy had apparently locked himself in the closet by accident. When asked why he didn't call out for help, he dryly responded, "Why? It's not like anyone would notice I was gone, and someone was bound to open the door eventually. Doing nothing was the reasonable thing to do." Felicia and Aki, being the headstrong and very active problem solvers they are, naturally take issue to this answer. Felicia saying, "What? We've been in the library for the past hour. If you just said something, we've been out an hour ago. What if we were in there for days? You would have starved." Aki chimed in, "Yeah, dude, you didn't even yell. Did you at least, I don't know, try to break it open? Anything?" I'm used to not eating, and I'm too weak for that. "Listen, guy, whatever your name was." "Noah." "Whatever, fine. Next time I'll just let you rot in." Before she could finish, Noah shrugs them off. Whatever, doesn't matter. And heads out. Following this, the party splits up for the night and builds up their stats. Stallion tries to get more gutsy and eats whatever's in the fridge. Leo decides to build up his knowledge and keep studying. Aki wants some athleticism, so he pumps iron. Lucia also dips into building knowledge as well. Felicia, on the other hand, decides to venture out into the town of Downport and finds herself wandering Expedient Mall's food court, where as she walks, a magazine slides off a food court table and lands on the ground in front of her. The man sitting at the table asks her to pick it up, which she does. Seeing that it's an occult magazine, it catches Felicia's attention because she's fighting literal demons now and this could tell her more about the enemy. She asks who he is and the man explains that she can call him Joe. Joe, the Devil Arcana. He's a writer and investigator for Akashic Monthly, a website and magazine publisher that retells urban legends and distributes stories about demons and deities from various religions. Also, something I should note is that this man is just drowning in pounds of cheese. His table has got cheese cubes, cheese slices, and a grilled cheese sandwich. Make of his diet what you will. The pair become fast friends, and Joe agrees to tell Felicia about whatever demons or gods he happens to be researching at the time. Naturally, Felicia takes him up on this and returns 24 hours later to ask him about his current research. Joe says, "Right now I'm investigating something pretty annoying. It's the Drifting God, and I can find stories and accounts of it, things related to floods and philosophers about nothingness. Like the concept and the appeal of nothingness. Fun and all, but I can't find the damn thing's name." And Felicia was like, "Huh, neat, so why do you only eat cheese?" The night passed without any other obvious foreshadowing, and for the next couple of days, the party acted like ordinary high school students, which involved all of them unanimously deciding to go all in on streaming, resulting in the development of a state-of-the-art streaming room. Why? I genuinely don't know. I guess they wanted money? Part of me just thinks that stemmed from Lucia joking about being a streamer, which everyone just ran with, since they were all kind of poor, I guess, even though two of them were literally millionaires, but that would have broken the economy, but we'll break the economy later.
And the simps. We had like a literal simp meter.
Yes, there was a simp meter. But yeah, they all started buying things, and I started photoshopping. And they bought the stuff, but they didn't actually do anything with it until weeks later, both in and out of game. During this buying palooza, Lucia was hard at work pulling up records of every single party member, which Leo caught wind of. However, Lucia knew that Leo knew, which meant that Leo knew that Lucia knew that Leo knew. Yeah. This in mind, Lucia enacted a new plan. She would get Leo to leave his room by forcing him out, to which she cackled her way over to the fire alarm and pulled it. interrupting everyone's day and making their actions entirely forfeit. See, you have to understand that we played this game like an actual Persona game, where you could only do one big thing per day and another big thing at night, which was awkward and a bit arbitrary, but it worked well enough. Like, my players did need to plan their actions accordingly, so there's that. Naturally though, this inspired a bit of rage and animosity towards Lucia, rage that would slowly build over the coming month. While attending class on another day, something happened. The details are a little hazy for me, but alright, so Felicia, Aki, Leo, and Leon. Remember Leon? He's the Fortune Arcana. They're walking around the school. Leon's trying to take them to the auditorium because Felicia had an interest in it, and the other two didn't mind getting out of class a bit early. While walking, Leon makes a quick little pit stop to pick up his sister Leah, because she has a key to the costume storage room, which Leon wants to show off as well. As they are doing this, a small argument starts with the teacher, Mr. something. He's never given a name, and the teacher is covered head to toe in bandages, but don't worry about that. It was a horrible shaving accident, I swear. Regardless, the teacher doesn't think Leon has the authority to pull his sister out of class, and Leon doesn't have the backbone to double down. So it's up to the party to get involved. Aki speaks up using his man voice. It's important student council business! But the boy has a low charm stat, and his voice cracks. He fails. The teacher with no name brushes them off, telling them that if they're gonna lie, they should at least be good at it, otherwise it's useless. And that actually gets under Felicia's skin. It strikes a chord, and makes Felicia think back to her upbringing with her family. With that, she comes to a simple conclusion. Well, if option A fails, then go for option B, of course. Revealing that she had brought her 24-barreled pistol to school, pulling it out of her bag and taking aim at the teacher. Aki naturally objects and tries to get in the way of the bullet. Leonidas reveals that he also brought his railgun to school and aimed it directly at Felicia, ordering her to stop, his voice turning colder and more clinical. Leon panics and begs for Felicia to stop, annoying her. The rest of the class starts panicking, and as Leonidas puts the finger on the trigger of his railgun, Felicia pulls the trigger first, firing upon Leon. Blood splatters across the floor. 7 more gunshots are heard. 4 bodies collapse to the ground. Sling Guns is activated from the... sorry. Nosebleed there. What were we doing? Oh, right, yeah. The group pulled Leah out of class and everyone got a little lightheaded for a bit. The party would find out later that there was a minor gas leak in the classroom, causing the students to have a mass hallucination. Thankfully, the effect and the effective game-ending ramifications of that hallucination were only temporary and imaginary. But in that purely fictional situation, something called Sling Guns was activated. What is that? Well, it's something that will come into play more and more often as this saga continues. You see, this story is based off my time running a game using the Persona fan-made tabletop system. And in that system, there was this skill called Sling Guns, which is as follows. When you roll a complete success while making a ranged attack, you can invoke this move to roll another ranged attack against a different enemy. You can continue this chain of attacks as long as you keep rolling 10 or higher. Which is problematic because, you see, so long as you keep rolling and hitting, there's no limit. You can just endlessly keep firing, endlessly keep killing, endlessly keep steamrolling through it. So long as you keep rolling good, which will be important later. Additionally, following that gas leak, Felicia tried to call her parents. They did not pick up, rightfully. Anyway, Leon and Leah showed Leo, Aki, Felicia the auditorium and the various play-related things. It was nice and peaceful, even if Leon and Leah had this unease about them, both tasting blood in their mouths. Whatever, must have been a sibling thing. Then after school, the party encountered Noah once more, who was curled up in the broom closet where they found him. It was Aki and Leo this time. Excuse me, what in the blazes were you doing in there? Nothing, a whole lot of nothing. Dude, did you get locked in again? No, I could have gotten out whenever I wanted. As in now, or as in the last time Aki found you in the closet. Okay, I'm done. This world's boring me again. And with that, the world's most interesting man walked away once more. Alright then, so what did Felicia do to him? Nothing! Ahem. Interjection. Now, I need to preface this part of the story because See, it's several years old at this point and I don't have perfect notes yet at this stage of the game, so quite a bit of info is missing and I can't really piece things together. My memory is not perfect, I just know that on this day, October 9th, they found out that Noah was the next dungeon thing. It had something to do with the arcade at the mall. The entrance to his dungeon was behind the arcade cabinet. So the party entered his dungeon, chasing after him, I think. And at some point the others were informed as well. So we're just gonna sweep past this. They fell for a time, but eventually found themselves situated atop steel grates, overtop a turbulent ocean. There were heavy clouds everywhere. And as the party pointed out numerous times, and I mean numerous times, there were no safety rails. Still, the party pushed along using their new formation. Aki in front as the meat shield, sword and Sherlock cocked. Felicia behind him, gun Tron.
Weltschmerz.
Off crying somewhere. Stallion in the middle with his knucks out, ready to heal with Divine close behind him. Leonidas in the back, railgun ready to snipe. Persona practically non-existent. And Lucia nowhere in sight. Let me explain that. You see, Lucia's player was like chronically busy, henceforth outside of a few key moments, we'll get very little of Lucia. Oh well. The party pushed through the domain, jumping across platforms and pushing demons into the ocean below them, which did deny them drops. And oh yeah, I need to discuss drops. So, like in any Persona game, defeating an enemy leads to things like money and items being dropped. Same here, just swap yen for American dollary dues. And the item drops for random junk like CRT TVs, cheap candy, soda cans, and shards. Shards are like these condensed crystals that represent an element. These will be important in a bit. Following some sick battles that were just Felicia gunning everything down in front of her and Leo picking up the scraps, everyone reached a maze. A teleporter maze. Well, a cloud maze. There were these like thick clouds that covered a small area, and when a character walked through them, they arrived at another spot on the map.
This... I am go-
In fact, during this little maze, the party actually discovered a secret hidden room containing a strange golden insect that emanated a bright light. With some quick investigation, the party could tell that these things weren't from the real world, but they also weren't demonic or part of the dungeon. Unsure of what they were, the group agreed to let Leonidas hold on to it. There was clearly more to glean from them. Yeah, and besides, the maze wasn't anything too bad, it was simple trial and error, and since we played on Roll20, they could easily keep track of what led where. However, as they approached the boss's chamber, they were confronted by Sukona Hikona, or as my players called him, Boat Guy. Boat Broski skidded into action, proclaiming, "For the creation of nothingness, I shall not let you pass." And they just curb stomped him. Dude got a really bad initiative, the party crit him so many times. Felicia shot him, Leonidas shot him, Aki stabbed him, Stallion uppercut him, and Lucia just incinerated him. No personas were used either. Some teens just jumped him. Crazy. But since they were right at the end, the party decided to head out of the dungeon by sleeping on some newspaper to recover lost resources like SP. Back in the real world, the party slept, and on the new day, did some shopping, mostly healing items and things like several crates of Dr. Bob, a soda brand that restores SP in dungeons. Now, our perspective will shift to Lucia. She has a few days of downtime before the party returns to the dungeon. So in order to prepare, Lucia recalls something Igor had told them about. Item fusion. In place of using personas for the party, Igor will instead use items for them, specifically weapons. So Lucia strolls into the Velvet Room, slaps down her Amazon flamethrower, several purple shards, which represent the curse and Aha element, some duct tape, a Molotov cocktail, a gas bomb, and a toothbrush shiv. And how did Igor respond to this? That'll be $47.99, my dear. Yeah, he asks for cold, hard cash to complete the process. Well, he himself doesn't do it. That's the attendant, Moritz's job. She's creative, so it'll be fine. Fast forward to 3 days later and Lucia receives a phone call. "Greetings, my beloved passenger. Your latest atrocity has been completed. Please come to the Velvet Station when you are next able to." Arriving promptly, Lucia picked up her new thing, which she christened the War Crime. It would spew toxic flames that poisoned its targets. And believe me when I say, this is nowhere near its final form. Meanwhile, Leonidas decided to do his own item fusion by powering his railgun with a yellow shard, sciencing the two together, and voila! His railgun now deals electric damage. All preparations complete, the party jumped back into the domain, ready to take care of the demon like Jester had told them to. Thus, they stormed Noah's inner chamber, where, much like the principal, he assumed a new, demonic form, body covered in strange markings and demonic faces. At that moment, he was unaware of the party's presence since stealth. So Noah's chillin', minding his own business, preparing his big evil speech, and Leo proceeded to snipe Noah from a long distance, skipping all dialogue and jumping right into the boss fight. The faces on Noah's body began to scream out in agony as an entity forced its way out of Noah, that entity being this whale, the nameless god. While Noah retreated into this little bubble thing that floated in the air and fired off little zappy spells, other demons also spawned in the area, so the fight was on. The party leaped and jumped across grates while the nameless god floated and fired off lasers. But once the party dealt critical damage to the god, it revealed its secondary ability, Consume. The nameless god went out and consumed some of the surviving demons, thus regaining HP and doing the same to Noah, eating him and becoming one, transforming into its final form, beginning the second stage of the fight, where it started using the skill Domination, draining both HP and MP from the party, putting them in a dire situation when Stallion was tapped out, unable to provide any more healing and currently at the mercy of the beast. The remaining party concocted a plan, one that could give them answers. Felicia and Leo sniped it from two separate directions to capture its attention, while Lucia rolled in and unleashed her war crime, giving Stallion a chance to hit the weakness of the monster with a Molotov cocktail, knocking them down, allowing the party to launch an all-out attack, finally putting an end to the beast. As its body began to dissolve and fall apart, turning into nothing, Noah, the human who caused this, was still inside its body, and was sure to follow, which is why Aki had a part in this plan. Using his persona, Aki managed to leap onto the collapsing god's body, where he lifted his sword up and proceeded to cut Noah out. Him in hand, Aki leapt to the ground. The party had done it. They had killed the demon and saved the man. On the ground, Noah pathetically reached his hand out, trying to say something. No, I was... And then Stallion, or Felicia, maybe both, kicked him upside the head, knocking him out. Those two were pretty done with the boss fight at that point. Following this, the party left the domain and returned to the real world, getting Noah some medical treatment and sending him off to the hospital, where they lied about being concerned friends who found him after he got jumped. Which, well, that second part's at least true. Anyway, they ensured that they would be notified whenever Noah woke up, because he was going to be out for a good long while. And if you've been looking at the sticky notes, you can see that the current date is October 13th, and their deadline is November 2nd. So like any Persona game, it's time to wait for the plot. Over the next few days, Lucia spent time chilling in the dorm's pool because, well, her player was unavailable and we put her there on the map to keep her out of the way. The dorm check also occurred around this time, but we can gloss over that. The party repaired all damages from their initial meeting with Jester by now. The rest of the party, meanwhile, dedicated their times towards two goals. Number 1, completing the construction of the streaming room, which was really easy. They bought everything. So they spent like 2 days setting everything up. And number 2, moving into an aircraft hangar because everyone got a room that they could use. Okay, but how did they afford such an aircraft hangar? Simple, by being rich and having indifferent parents. We love you, Stallion.
My parents didn't.
Back in the hangar, Felicia and Stallion have their hangar rooms converted into bedrooms. Leo does nothing with his room, and instead has the tank move directly inside where a plane would normally be. You remember the tank, right? It was sitting up by the shoreline, surrounded by trash. Well, Leo had Stallion's manservant, Charles, bring the tank under the cover of night. So yeah, it's there now, and the party needs to spend multiple actions to slowly rebuild the tank into workable condition. It needs to be at 100% to fully operate, and every roll the party makes can at most fix 6%. Because, you see, they were never supposed to be able to rebuild the damn thing. But they had diligence, and I had no spine. At the very least, it would take quite a while to build. Oh, and while they're building it, they can talk to Joe. Oh yeah, I forgot. You remember Joe? The random guy Felicia met at the mall? Yeah, he lives here now. Let's go back a day or 3. Hey Joe, do you have a place to live? Yeah, the park bench counts. How would you feel about paying cheap rent and being our god dog? We'll give you a mini fridge. And just like that, Joe moved into the second floor of the aircraft hangar, mainly because the party loved his cheese gang, and they needed someone to be there 24/7. That way I couldn't do anything too bad to their home away from dorm away from home. Several more days pass as the party mostly spends it either streaming or raising stats. or working on the tank. But all roads eventually lead to school, where Leonidas continues to spend time with Leah, it eventually culminating in a not date, where the two met up late at night and had a nice, long conversation, Leah explaining her dreams of becoming a photographer, while Leonidas pulled out his Riz and began to shift the conversation to a more sensitive topic, beginning to talk about his knowledge of stained glass windows, explaining, "When most people think about stained glass, they probably conjure images of intricate, colorful windows in churches and cathedrals, but it can be used any way you like to add a decorative touch to a building. Stained glass pictures or designs are made by using a metal framework, usually lead, to make an outline, which is then filled in using colorful pieces of glass." The conversation culminating in a promise that one day the two of them will go to a stained glass factory. How romantic. And this conversation went on for over an hour. A complete uninterrupted hour. Oh my god. The other players were just sitting in the back doing nothing while we stained glass at one another. The first of many long-winded Leonidas moments. And while this occurred, Stallion was off trying to speak to the Tower Arcana, Old Man Winchester, the solitary fisherman who sits on a lamppost on most nights. And for the next few nights, that's what Stallion did. He tried climbing the lamppost. Fail. He tried waiting for Old Man Winchester to come down. Fail. He tried using a ladder. Fail. Until one day, after weeks of building up his athleticism, Stallion finally climbed the lamppost, being met by a resounding good from Old Man Winchester, granting him a rank 1 of the social link. Hell yeah!
The day one of trying not to think about fucking.
Following that, the next day after school ended, the party decided to report to the student council, where they overheard a small conversation between Leah and Sky. So did they beat up that Noah guy? What? No, Leonidas and his other friends, I think? They don't really act like friends. No, that doesn't matter. Look, Sky, they just found him like that. Huh, so they are related. World, what are you doing? I'm sorry, Sky, what did you say? Oh, it's nothing. I need to go talk to your brother. Something's been bugging me. See ya. Overhearing that, the party naturally thinks nothing about it, and they just have a pretty uneventful day, lamenting about how they don't have enough time to plan a Halloween event. Cope on even adding, and even if we could do something, we couldn't even host an event since there's another tropical storm coming this weekend. That line, however, reminds the players about something, their deadline, and Jester's coming very soon. Speaking of which, the party decides to stay inside their dorm as Sunday, November 2nd arrives. But Sky, their fellow dormmate, doesn't heed their warning, instead leaving pretty late into the night, saying that she wants cheap pizza, so she ventures into the storm. Oh, and Lucia is still in the pool. The party sits outside the bathroom, waiting for Jester to arrive. At the strike of midnight, the dorm room's colors invert, and a lone footstep is heard, as he appears behind the party. So, you lot killed the demon. Good, you're getting quicker. And I gotta ask something. Did you folks find anything back in that dungeon? Find what? More demons? Be specific. No, I'm talking about a little bug. Looks like a golden locust. The party puts on their best poker faces, which seems to work. Yeah, whatever, don't worry about it. Nobody asked you kids anyway. Now on to the next matter. We got another demon on the rise, so go on and kill it, and do it before the 26th. You hear me? But of course. Then we're clear. And one last thing, don't listen to whatever the hell the world tells you. At that, he leaves. The party sleeps and awakens to a phone call, letting them know that Noah has awoken yesterday and can now accept visitors. Naturally, the party immediately heads over to get some questions answered, leaving Lucia behind. Lucia, who's been left in the pool for days, unmoving, unfeeling, not a breath left in her. The party arrives in the hospital, gaining access to Noah's room, where they see a police detective with snow-white hair and a steely gaze investigating him. Having heard the party approaching the room, the detective quickly finishes his questioning and leaves, walking right past them. The party then approach Noah, who speaks. "Oh, it's you crazy people again. What, come back to shoot me again?" "No, but if you'd like us to." "Felicia? We want information, we need it, and you're going to tell us about the other world, how you acquired that dungeon, and how we can find the next one." "Fine, I can't do anything about it, but I want you people to answer one question." "Go on ahead, let's see if we can." "Where's the other one? The one wearing the red mask?" As water fills Lucia's lungs and a Persona user is snuffed from existence, the party, or I guess the remaining members of the Phase 5, learn of another Persona user. One different from Jester, but still one clad in a mask. And that's where our story ends for now. Wowzers, that was a lot, but we got through it. The story of Persona SC is one that'll probably get progressively longer, but I'm excited, because we are finally getting into the good material. However, you'll just have to take my word for it, because the next part of this series will be out in a while. I've got a few too many video ideas right now, but I think we'll get part 3 in November. Still, I'm really excited for my next 2 videos. Regardless, if you enjoyed this and don't hate my voice, then please consider sticking around, because my sole goal here is to improve my writing, editing, and speaking. Thank you very much for watching.